When I was a girl, my grandmother had a round she walked every single night before bed. The same order, every time, like a prayer said with her feet. She'd bank the fire down low. She'd check the doors. She'd set a pinch of salt somewhere I could never quite catch. And the very last thing she did, every night of her life, was in the bedroom. She'd reach up and turn something to the wall and cover it over, right there by the bed. I used to watch her do it from under the quilt, too little to understand and too smart to ask twice. The one time I did ask, she just said, "That's not for you to worry about yet," and tucked me in tighter. That's number 12, and it's the reason I still cannot fall asleep in a strange room without getting up to do the very same thing. But we start where the old folks started, at dusk, when the sun goes down and the house has to be closed up right. And I'll bet you a shiny penny your family kept more of these than they ever told you. Keep count. Number 1, you never sweep or take the trash out after dark. Once the sun was down, the broom went in the closet and the bin sat right where it was until morning. Sweep after dark, and you sweep the luck out of the house along with the dust. You've heard me say that before. But at night, there's a darker layer. In the dark, you can't see what you're throwing out. And the old folks believed you could sweep out more than dust, brush a soul right over the threshold into the night, and never be able to call it back. The trash was the same. You did not carry something out of the house into the dark and set it down out there, because what you put out into the night could keep. And you didn't much like what you might carry back in with the empty pail. Now, I have to be honest with you, the way I always am. I broke this one on purpose once, as a grown woman. Stood in my kitchen, looked at that full trash can, decided I was too old and too sensible for my grandmother's rules, and hauled it right out the back door into the dark, very pleased with myself. And the only thing that happened was I caught my foot on the bottom step I couldn't see, went down hard, sent those cans rolling every direction, and woke every dog and half the folks on my road. No curse, no devil, just a skinned shin and my pride in pieces on the ground. So maybe the rule was never about luck at all. Maybe it was just that you cannot see the step in the dark. My grandmother, I think, would have told you those are the very same thing. Number 2, you draw the curtains before you light the lamp. This was a hard rule in her house, and I was the one who had to do it. Come dusk, before a single lamp got lit, little Della went round the whole house and drew every curtain shut. Because a lit window in the dark is a beacon. Inside, you're lit up bright as noon. Outside, it's black as pitch, which means you can see nothing at all, and anything out there can see you, plain as a picture, and watch you the whole evening, and you'd never know. The old folks did not like being put on display to the night. A bright lamp behind an open black window, they said, was an invitation, and you were the one who'd sent it. Number 3, you never leave the washing on the line overnight. You got the wash in before dark, every stitch of it. Cloth left hanging out through the night took on the damp and the dew. But the old belief said more than water settled into it. Some said the dead could brush against what hung out in the dark. Some said you never put on a thing that had hung through the night hours without shaking it out good and hard first. My grandmother would no sooner leave a shirt on that line past sundown than she'd leave the front door standing wide. She said a thing left out overnight came back in cold, and she didn't mean the temperature. Number 4, at night, you don't answer the first knock. Now, you all know I've talked about knocks in the dark before, and I'm not going back over that ground. This is a different rule. This is about whether you open the door at all. Real people, expected people, knock and then knock again. They call out, they rattle the latch, they want in out of the cold, so they make themselves known. It's the single knock you learn to fear. One knock in the dark and then nothing. Silence on the other side of the door. Because that, the old folks said, is not always someone you want to let into your house. My grandmother never once let me answer the door after dark. That was hers to do, and she did it slow, and she waited for that second knock every time before her hand ever went to the latch. We've closed the house up now. The curtains are drawn, the wash is in, the fire's banked. Everyone's abed. And you'd think that would be the end of it. But the deep part of the night had its own rules, because the deeper it got, the thinner things wore. Number 5. After dark, you watch what you say out loud. Once the house was dark and quiet, my grandmother watched her mouth, and she taught us to watch ours. You did not speak of death after dark. You did not name a sickness out loud at night. You did not say the thing you were most afraid of, not once the sun was down. Because the night listens closer than the day does. Say a fear out loud into a dark, quiet house, and you call it toward you. Name the dead, and you might wake something that was resting. If there was hard business to speak of, you waited and said it in the daylight, out in the sun, where words scatter and blow away. At night, words carry, straight to the wrong ears. Number 6. You don't look into a black window at night. Here's one most folks have never thought about. A dark window, at night, is a mirror. Stand in a lit room and look at that black glass, and it throws your own face right back at you. And the old folks did not care to look. Because the reflection in a night window isn't clean and clear like a proper-looking glass. It's dim. It's doubled. It shows the whole room stretched out behind you. And more than a few swore that now and again, that dark glass showed something standing back there, over your shoulder, in the corner. That wasn't in the room at all when you turned to check. That was half the reason you drew those curtains at dusk, so you never had to meet whatever the glass might show you. Number 7. You never sing or whistle at night. You could whistle all day long out in the yard and lose nothing but your breath. I've told you the miners wouldn't do it underground, and the old folks wouldn't do it in the house. But at night it was worse, and it went for singing too. Whistling in the dark, or singing out into the night, was calling. And at night, you never knew what was near enough to answer. Worse still, some said a song sent out into a dark, sleeping house could be picked up and hummed back to you. Soft, from another room, in a voice you very nearly recognised. So you kept your tunes for the daylight. After dark, you kept quiet. Number 8. You never let the moon fall on a sleeping face. This one I love, and hardly anybody keeps it anymore. You did not let the moonlight land on the face of anybody asleep. You pulled the curtain, or you turned the bed, or you moved the cradle out of the beam. Because the full moon, falling on a sleeping face, was said to pull at the mind. To make a person moonstruck, moon mad. Not quite themselves. That is where the word lunatic comes from. Luna, the old word for the moon. Moonlight, they believed, could reach right into a sleeping head and stir up what was in it. So you kept the sleeper's face in shadow and let the moon have the floor and the wall. Anything at all but the face. And now we come to it. The small hours. The deep middle of the night, when the whole world is asleep and the house is at its stillest. That was the hour the old folks minded most of all. Because that was the hour the wall wore thinnest. Number 9. You never look in a mirror by candlelight. In the small hours, girls and grown women alike used to do a dangerous thing. They'd sit down before a mirror with a single candle burning at midnight and look, to see a face. The man they were meant to marry, some said. That was the promise. But you were never quite sure what would look back. Because the old belief held that a mirror, by candlelight, at the dead of the night, is a door. And if you stared into it too long or called into it, you might see the face you asked for. Or you might see one you never asked for at all, looking back at you over your own shoulder. The candle, the dark, the glass, and the hour. That was the whole recipe. And it was a recipe for calling something through. I knew girls who tried it at slumber parties when I was young and swore they'd never do it a second time. Number 10. If you wake at the same hour every night, something woke you. You know that feeling. Snapping awake in the dead middle of the night, wide awake, for no reason at all. And you look at the clock, and it's the same time it was last night. And the night before that. The old folks had a name for that hour, the dead hour. Somewhere in the small hours, the same time each night. The hour when the house is most awake with what isn't living, when the wall is at its very thinnest. And if you woke there, night after night, they didn't believe it was your bladder or your bad back. They believed something woke you. And I'll tell you honestly, this one I've lived. There was a stretch of years where I woke at the same hour every single night, out of a dead sleep, my heart going, the house dead quiet around me. I checked the clock enough to know it wasn't chance. always within a minute of the same time. I never found a reason. And I'll tell you the part I don't say often. One of those nights I lay there wide awake at that same hour, and I knew, the way you know a thing without being told, that I was not the only thing awake in that house. I never found a cause. After a while, I stopped looking for one. I don't have an explanation for you tonight, and I've long since made my peace with not having one. Number 11. If you hear your name called once in the night, you don't answer. This is the one my grandmother sat me down for. If you ever hear your name called in the dark, once, clear, in a voice you know, you do not answer it, and you do not get up and go to it. Because a voice that calls your name one time in the night, then goes quiet, is not always the person it sounds like. Something that means you harm, the old belief went, can wear a voice you love. Your mother's, your husband's. But it can only manage the one call, so it calls you once, and it waits. And if you answer, you've told it exactly where you are, and you've said yes, you're coming. A real person calls again, and again. They don't stop at one. An owl calling your name was one thing, and we've spoken of that. But your own name, in your mother's voice, once, out of the dark, that was another thing entirely. My grandmother told me, if you ever hear me call you one time in the night and then nothing comes after, you stay right where you are. If it's really me, she said, I will come to you. I have never forgotten that as long as I've lived. Number 12. You cover what reflects, and you never sleep facing a mirror. And here we are, back in that bedroom, and my grandmother turning something to the wall every night of her life. It was the mirror, the little looking glass by the bed. And every single night, before she would lie down, she turned it to face the wall, or she draped a cloth clean over it. The rule was simple. You never sleep facing a mirror, and at night, you cover the glass anywhere near where you lay your head. I only understood why a long while after she was gone. She believed that when you sleep, your soul comes loose and goes wandering. That's what dreams are, she'd have told you, the soul out walking in the dark. And a mirror by the bed could catch that soul while it roamed and hold it, so come morning it couldn't find its way back home into you. Or worse, she believed a mirror facing a sleeper was a door left standing open, and that something could come through it and settle into the warm, empty place while the soul was away and couldn't stop it. Either way, you covered the glass, and you slept with your face to the wall and never to the mirror. And I still do it. Every strange hotel room, every guest bed in somebody else's house. The very first thing I do, before I can close my eyes, is turn the mirror around or hang a towel over it. And every time, I know exactly what it is. It's my grandmother, still tucking me in, still reaching up and closing that last door so I can sleep. So let me ask you, and I mean it, have you ever woken at the same hour, night after night, with no reason you could ever put a name to? And did you ever find out why? And is there something in your own house you still cover at night, or some rule you still keep after the sun goes down, without ever really knowing where it came from? Tell me down in the comments. These are the ones I read with the lights on. Because here's what I've come to understand about all of it. The old folks weren't cowards, and they weren't fools, and they did not lie awake trembling at the dark. They just knew something we have paved right over with porch lights and telephone screens, that the night is a different country, and it runs by its own rules. The daytime world is the one we built. The night was here first. And in the dark, they believed the wall between the living and everything else goes thin. Thin enough that a lit window is an invitation, a single knock is a question, your own name is a trap, and a mirror by your bed is a door left standing open while you sleep. So they drew the curtains. They covered the glass. They didn't answer the first knock. And they tucked the children in with their faces to the wall. Not because they were afraid of the night, because they respected it. And when my grandmother made her round every evening and turned that last mirror to the wall, that wasn't fear either. That was her, standing between her sleeping family and the wide open dark, closing every door the night might come through, one by one, so the rest of us could sleep easy and never even know she'd done it. That's what every one of these really was. Somebody standing watch in the dark, so that you didn't have to. So what's your count? How many of these did your family keep, whether they ever told you why or not? Tell me the hour you wake, and tell me the one thing you still cover or still won't do once the sun goes down. I read every last one. Knock on wood on your way out.